Tonight we're trying another dinner we saw on TikTok. To start, we cut up some potatoes and then added salt, garlic, pepper, and paprika. Then threw them in the air fryer to crisp them up. We also fried up some bacon and shredded a bunch of cheese. Next, we cut up and cooked 2 chicken breasts. I just completely forgot to record it, but then we mixed those in with the potatoes. We then added a bunch of ranch dressing to the top and mixed that all together. Now we added all the potatoes to a baking dish and topped it with about half the cheese that we shredded. Then we added our bacon to the top, spreading it around evenly. And then lastly added the remaining cheese to the top. We baked this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 5 to 10 minutes, just long enough to melt the cheese. This was so good that we cannot wait to make it again.
We've officially reached the time of year where nothing sounds good for dinner. Christmas is over, it's dark all the time, and my stretchy pans are a lot less stretchy. So moving in the opposite direction of that holiday food, tonight we had this 1-pan cheesy chicken taco rice. To make it, just get a big skillet over medium-high heat, add in some oil and 1 pound of chicken minus any weird spots. That's going to get seasoned with the seasonings I've listed below, and once it comes to a temp that's going to allow you to see 2025, you're going to add in 1 can of Rotel and 1 can of tomato sauce. Next up, it's going to get 1 tablespoon of Busy People garlic, 1 cup of rinsed rice, and a cup and a half of chicken broth, and then we'll just stir that all together and throw on the lid. Then after 15 to 20 minutes, you can just fluff up that rice, top it with your favorite cheese, and then pop it in the oven for just a couple minutes to get it melted. Then as a final touch, you can just sprinkle on some dried cilantro. Unless you're one of those cilantro tastes like soap people, you can skip that part. That's good. That's better than the beef one, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
These cheesy beef roll-ups were so delicious and they were so easy to make. It literally took me under 20 minutes. Here's how I made it. Started by cooking my ground beef. Once it was fully cooked, I drained it. Then I added 1 pack of taco seasoning. I added a half block of cream cheese along with some salsa and a little water. Let that cook down a bit, and then I added some shredded cheese and I set that aside. For my chipotle sauce, I used some sour cream, a little adobo sauce, some paprika, some chili powder. I added in some salsa. I gave that a nice stir. For flour tortilla, I assembled my meat mix along with some nacho cheese. I also added my chipotle sauce. I carefully folded it into a burrito. This part took a lot of patience, but it was worth it. Please just make sure it doesn't spill out and make sure it's fully closed. To a skillet, I added some olive oil and I cooked my roll-ups on each side for about 1 to 2 minutes. They get done really fast and they should look like this when done. I served them with chipotle sauce and these were so good. Definitely a must try.
This is probably the most kid-requested meal on our dinner rotation. It checks all the boxes. It's got tots, so you can make it all in 1 pan, and it's easy to throw together on a weeknight. At my house, we call this one Fiesta Tater Tot Casserole, but that's kind of a mouthful, so you can just call it dinner. To make it, you're just going to get your skillet over medium heat and throw in 1 pound of cubed up chicken with all the weird spots removed and season that up with the seasonings I've listed below. Then once that's all browned up, it's going to get a can of drained black beans, a can of drained corn, a can of Rotel, and about a cup of sour cream. Then you're just going to add in about a cup of whatever your favorite cheese is and stir it all together, but don't worry about what it looks like at this point because it's a casserole and we're going to hide it. And to perform that miracle, we're just going to sprinkle on some more cheese and then pour on the tots. I like to use the crispy crowns because they remind me of Taco John's back when I wasn't afraid to go to Taco John's. And this is really probably my favorite part of this whole process because it feels like you're about to make something really beautiful when in all reality, you're just playing with tater tots. Depending on the size of your pan, you're probably not going to use quite the whole bag of tots, so you could just put the rest in your pocket like Napoleon and then throw the casserole in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes.
Hey y'all, let's make dinner for that man and them kids. We having baked chicken, baby. Go ahead, get your chicken, clean it up, dry it off real good, pour a little bit of butter on it. I'm using some Niger Grill seasoning mix, garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, baby, paprika, some parsley, and some Montreal chicken seasoning. Go ahead and stir it up real good, baby. Then get you a baking dish, put your chicken in there, and you're going to cover it in some foil and let it cook for 45 minutes on 400, okay? Now, while that's doing what it do, get you some green beans. You can use canned or fresh. I'm using fresh. They was on sale. Slice and dice you up some peppers and onions, baby. I'm using all the color bell peppers, a red onion, and a white onion. Now, after your chicken been cooking for a little while, take that broth, pour it in a bowl. Get you a skillet with some flour and butter, baby. Mix that around, and then pour your broth right in there. I use some of this Campbell's cream of chicken and herb soup, baby. Pour that in there, mix it up real good, and then you want to go ahead and add your sliced white onions, a little pepper, or whatever you like. Put a lid on it and let it simmer for a little bit. Once it simmers, you're going to take that out and pour it all on top of your chicken, baby. Then put your chicken back in the oven on 400 for another 30 minutes uncovered. Now, while that's doing what it do, take your bell peppers and onions, add your green beans in there, baby. Hit the bottom with a little bit of chicken broth. Add you some garlic powder, onion powder, some minced garlic, black pepper, or whatever you like, a little bit of sugar. And then mix everything up real good and let them steam down. You're going to take your chicken out the oven, baby, and it's going to look like this. And when it look like that, go ahead and get you a plate. Put that chicken and rice on there. Put them green beans on the side and put some extra gravy in that rice. Stick a fork in it and call that man and them kids and tell them to come eat because dinner is served. Bye, y'all.
Every time I post my mom's spaghetti bake recipe, everybody always loves it. And this is my all-time favorite dinner recipe. Like growing up, I did not want to go to a restaurant for my birthday. I would always request this. To a pan, you're going to brown up 1 pound of ground beef and then drain any grease with whatever method that you choose. Then you're going to add 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, a half a cup of water, and 1 package of spaghetti sauce mix. And once that's all combined, you're going to switch the heat to low and you're just going to let this simmer for 20 minutes, stirring frequently. And while that's simmering, you can cook your pasta. You're going to break a half a pound of spaghetti into thirds and cook according to the package. Then drain and set aside. Then to another pot, you're going to add in 2 tablespoons of butter. Once it's melted, you're going to whisk in 2 tablespoons of flour and cook for 2 minutes. Then you're going to gradually add in 1 cup of evaporated milk and a half a cup of water. Next, just switch the heat to low and gradually add in 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese and 1/4 a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. And just cook until all the cheese is melted. And to assemble in a 9x13 casserole dish, you're going to add in half of the spaghetti, half of the meat mixture, all of the cheese sauce mixture, the rest of the spaghetti, and then the rest of the meat mixture. And to finish it off, you're going to top with 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. Then this goes in a 375-degree oven for 20 minutes. And like I said, this was a staple growing up in our house. And if you enjoyed this recipe, I have this one and 49 other dinner recipes in my cookbook, Amy Doe's Dinner.
Anytime I ask my husband what he wants for dinner, this is usually his request. Of course, I don't mind making what my man requests, but at this point, I've clearly been on TikTok too long because I can no longer make this meal without thinking to myself, and then you said you made steak, but boy, that was banquet, Salisbury steak. You done made me a TV dinner, mashed potatoes, cold in the middle. Now, either Salisbury steak was one of my daddy's favorite meals growing up, or it was just cheap and easy to make, because I remember my mom making it frequently, and so it became one of my favorite meals. And I knew, like, when I grew up, if my Salisbury steak could taste like my mom's Salisbury steak, then I knew I had did it right. Now, mommy is old school, so she would take fresh onion, dice it up, and add it to her Salisbury steak, which I feel like is the point of the flavor of a Salisbury steak. But I'm a millennial, so I cut that corner and I just use a box of Lipton onion soup mix instead of dicing fresh onions. And yes, I could use fresh green beans, but I use a can to save myself time. I also add that chicken base into my green beans. It's essentially like chicken bouillon, but it's in a paste form, so it adds a lot more flavor. My mom is old school, so yes, I know how to make gravy from scratch. I realized I could use the pan drippings and some flour and some butter, but I'm just going to get that good old package of McCormick brown gravy and make it do what it do. I get it. Some of you are going to think that the way I make my mashed potatoes is super extra, but my family likes them. I basically make my mashed potatoes like it's a baked potato. So to my mashed potatoes, yes, I'm adding the chicken base because it gives it so much flavor. I also add butter, sour cream, shredded cheese, and just a little bit of milk. I don't need a lot of milk because the sour cream is already going to make them super creamy. Now, if ever you see me making a plate and it's a real plate, not a paper plate, just know that's my man's plate. Because those children are for sure getting a paper plate, and so am I, because more dishes for what? Of course, I'm going to add the gravy, and I'm going to add some more gravy because that's how my man like his plate, and that's probably why
Recreated my first viral recipe that got 26 million views on TikTok, and I think this one's even better. I'm sure you've seen the original recipe. It's the crock pot pasta with Buffalo Wild Wings garlic Parmesan sauce. So it's that recipe, but we're doing a dump and bake recipe where all you do is dump all these ingredients into a baking dish and bake it. It's 1 pound box of dry pasta, garlic parm sauce, 1 cup milk, 2 cups of chicken broth. Mix in some rotisserie chicken, add a block of cream cheese, And I do have this recipe written out on my website, mealsandmunchies.com, under the Samsung Food app. And this time I did decide to add some broccoli to it. And while I keep most of my recipes written on the Samsung Food app, this particular one is also written in the comments on my Facebook video. My Facebook is Brooke, aka Meals and Munchies. Bake that covered at 425 for 35 minutes. Uncover it, mix it up really good, top it with some Parmesan cheese, and then you'll bake this for another 10 minutes to get that cheese nice and melted. Let me know if you've tried the original recipe, and you guys should definitely try this one too.
Hey, big bad wood, we can smoke a Ford. Lot of shit I do, niggas can't afford. Had a bad before cereal, I trapped off the drawer. You get hit with FN, then it's... These niggas 12 jet like Colt McCoy. I'm serving cooking jet like Chips Ahoy. I'm rocking water, my nigga got a shore. Why buy they got horse shit inside the garage?
Listen, this big X, bitch, I'm the big. These women don't want me, just want all my children. Can't talk to Glocks if they don't come and steal. All he think that he with it. If I tell him to spin it, my little nigga spin. Just live with the gang, spend the 10 on some titties. My BM the best, spit the dub on her titty. Got 30 for niggas that's thinking they see.
Yeah, X is big on big. The bruh Glock ain't regular, it's rigged. Play me like a square, I'm a 5.